Hi, and welcome to the Modern Persian Food Podcast. We are food bloggers,
Beata Arabian,
and Bita Nazem Kelley, and we're here to share with you the rich flavors and fresh ingredients of Persian cooking and how to incorporate them into today's modern lifestyles.
We're excited to introduce you to the flavors, tastes, and techniques we use, and also our own cultural stories and perspectives growing up in the U.S. in a Persian family. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 83 of the Modern Persian Food Podcast. I am with my lovely co-host, Bita, and we are talking about Persian brunch. We want to give you ideas and inspiration for a sweet and savory springtime brunch to have with your friends and family. We have some fun occasions coming up. Mother's Day is right around the corner. Also, some restrictions are being lifted so people can start entertaining a little bit more. And also for just indulging for yourself on a weekend. We hope that these ideas will give you some inspiration to make some Persian flavors in your brunch routine. We have a really great episode, number 27, all about Persian breakfast specifically, where we talk about some big egg dishes, a variety of jams, what we eat on the regular for breakfast, and also our favorite halim as well, if you want to check that out. But today we're going to focus more on brunch. And Bita June, how are you?
Hey, good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks. Tell me about brunch. Like, what is your ideal brunch?
I have lots of thoughts about brunch. I think I love breakfasts and brunch because it's an occasion that we can eat naughty foods and decadent things and over the top. It's okay if something is loaded with sugar, deep fried, loaded with, I don't know, just all things naughty and good, and it's okay. I also think of, I don't, it doesn't have to be ladies, but I do think of like ladies' occasions, getting together for brunch with the ladies or Mother's Day, flowers. It just kind of goes hand in hand, but doesn't have to be that. And then the last thing I think about is that I actually really like American breakfast and brunch foods as well. I can Persianify them a little, but just to be completely honest, I really love a good American breakfast, either at home or out. And I think that's okay to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but today we're talking about, I guess, like Persian-inspired brunch menu items and foods and what you might have if you were to host. So for me, I think a perfect brunch that I'm imagining, and let me tell you, I do have some fun occasions coming up. Our older daughter's graduating from college next month.
Wow, very exciting.
Yay, yeah. And so I don't know in what form we will celebrate, but maybe it will be a brunch outside in the back. We'll just have to see. A lot of times I get inspired by our conversations, but I love the idea of like a build your own brunch where it's like everybody can take from this, a little bit of that. I want it to have sweet. I want it to have savory. Lots of fresh on the herbs, fresh on the fruit. Things are starting to become more and more in season with berries and even like some melons and all the stone fruits are starting to become sweeter. And so I have lots of ideas. What are some ideas that you have?
Yeah, I mean, I love that. I love having the balance of the sweet and savory. And to your point, like it's so great to incorporate fresh flavors. I do have to say though, if you can't get your hands on like some of these great fruits, like an idea is also to incorporate like Persian flavors is with different types of jams. Like the murabba al-balu, like the sour cherry jam is like such a delicious and unique Persian flavor that you can like top your French toast with that or incorporate it with like maybe some like yogurt, or I know you love the kefir. You can kind of add that and add some like different nuts to make like a little parfait. So I definitely love having those really like delicious flavors incorporated, even with like things that may not typically be Persian. Like, you know, French toast isn't necessarily like a Persian dish, but I love just taking like a French toast and like adding that to it, like Seville orange marmalade or something like that to add just kind of like a little bit of like uniqueness to the dish. I think are all kind of like really fun ways to add a little bit of Persian flavor.
Yes, jams are great. Lots of jams, any jam, Persian jam. Jam on it. I love it. So yeah, on the kefir note, I have recently discovered a kefir that is thick. I'm sure it's made with just full fat cream. Unbelievably delicious at a farmer's market. And they have Persian inspired flavors. And so you got to bet I'm just grabbing it every time I go to this farmer's market. I have now tried their fig kefir, mulberry,
Mm.
and my all-time favorite is their rose. And so what I envision is having some of this, like you said, on the side. The rose jam would be beautiful atop of any waffle, French toast, or pancake.
Mhm.
And beyond my everyday that I'm, indulging myself with it. And then with some fresh strawberries sliced. So pretty and delicious.
Yeah, absolutely.
What else could you picture, having on breakfast, brunch, buffet table?
Yeah, a lot of the times, kind of the fresh herbs that we incorporate so much in Persian cooking, that they can make their way onto the breakfast and brunch table as well. Having a side of like some fresh herbs, like in the form of a sabzi khordan, is definitely one way that we can do it. But tell me about your green shashuka recipe, because that's like a way of having like really fresh herbs and putting into something that's just like a little bit different. I think when people think about shashuka, they think of more of the red-based, harissa-based spicy red sauce, where they have eggs poached into that beautiful, delicious sauce. But tell us a little bit about your green shashuka.
Well, green shakshuka could be anything you love to put in it, but it's essentially protein-rich, plant-based kale, spinach, maybe Swiss chard if you like that, cilantro. I love cilantro. And you're frying that up with the onions and the spices, whatever delicious spices that you love to have in your Middle Eastern cuisine. That'd be some paprika and some turmeric. And it can be, if you want to add a little bit of saffron, would change the color a little, but you're cooking it down with the onion, and then you're poaching the eggs. And then it can be garnished with some green avocado. I have a lovely picture of it. It's hard to describe without seeing it. But yeah, fresh and springtime. And then sabzi khordan platter, you're going to maybe have your herbs for that. So you can incorporate some of the herbs from your sabzi khordan platter, which is your herb platter. On my herb platter, in addition to jams, I would definitely have honey at a breakfast or brunch, and, some fun fruits, whatever I could get a hold of, and some delightful cheeses.
Yeah, delicious cheeses like some feta cheese is really great on a sabzi khordan, and also like walnuts and almonds. I love having nuts on the sabzi khordan platter as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think brunch also kind of evokes, to your point about like being indulgent, some like really sweet things. So bready, like pancakes and waffles with a little bit of like Persian elements to it. We could add a little bit of cardamom or a little bit of rose water into the batter of some of those. But what are some other like fun, delicious sweets that we can have at brunch?
Oh, you're asking the right person. Well, it just depends how sweetsy you want to get. Do you want to include cupcakes on your brunch table? I think I would, depending on the occasion.
Yeah.
Probably some Yazdi cupcakes or citrus pound cake. I have lots of baking recipes. I'll have a yummy Persian currant bread. That might be a little bit more acceptable. I just like to add some Persian-esque spices sometimes. So I have an orange cardamom olive oil tea cake. That's really delicious. And then a selection of teas and coffee, and so much fun. Maybe if I have tea and coffee, I would be okay with having some little Persian cookies.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's another thing about brunch, where you can kind of like take your time and even have courses to your brunch. You can kind of have some tea or coffee with some of those sweets and pastries, and then kind of move on to like the bigger main course of either like the green shashuka that you're talking about, or like, a lot of the times that are real big showstoppers are these big, delicious egg dishes that you can serve on like a big platter. I really enjoy having the big platters of like the eggs and having maybe some sauteed tomatoes around it for what we call kind of like an omelette, or even some bell peppers, or, my personal favorite of having it with like some dates caramelized as a Khormah Maloos that I've talked about before as one of my favorites kind of growing up. And you can actually sprinkle a little bit of cinnamon on there, have a little bit of walnuts, and actually have like a real showstopper of a main course, along with like kind of these sides that we've been talking about of the jams and the sabzi and fresh fruit.
Yeah, good point. I love how you do it, how you do your presentation of your omelette, your egg dishes. And that just makes me think of, if I'm hosting, I love to do like a casserole or like a make ahead thing, like a French toast casserole or an egg dish thing, so that as the host, I don't have to necessarily be cooking and busy in the kitchen, I can be enjoying my guests and my family and friends. Some of our family members like to do a build your own omelet in replication of how we used to do it, let's say in a vacation or at a restaurant. So we'll do that. But then the chef has to be sitting there doing it the whole time. So I kind of like the concept of having it all done, and even the egg dish all totally done. One of my favorite egg dishes that isn't necessarily supposed to be for breakfast, but I think it just checks off all the boxes of deliciousness, is our good friend Omi, the Caspian chef's beige.
Oh, yes.
I've made it a handful of times. I am obsessed with it. It is so delicious. It's sauteed onions with turmeric and delicious spices, some tomato sauce, tomato paste, and it has citrus notes of lemon juice. I think you could put potatoes in it. It does have like a ground meat, which makes it just really comforting and delicious. You can use the ground meat of your choice. I've tried a couple different versions, and then poached eggs on top. I think I do put a little herb, like cilantro or some sort of herb on top as well. And I am envisioning that being a beautiful savory part of the Persian-esque brunch.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that's like, that comes from like the Caspian region. So that's definitely very Persian. The different shashukas may have other Middle Eastern influences, but with this beach, you're like fully getting a Persian experience that's just like so beautiful and so colorful. And it sounds like so like stick to your bones, like a great meal to kind of like have to like kind of start the beginning of your day, beginning of your weekend, and really just enjoy with your family and friends.
Yeah, another thing you could make ahead is a quiche. So you could try to put some Persian flavors in a quiche. Or maybe the cheese would be a different cheese, a feta cheese or something that's a bit more Middle Eastern. I have also been recently loving savory scones. I haven't experimented with making them myself, but there's a coffee shop at one of our daughter's college campuses that makes the most delicious savory scone. It has like either leeks or scallions with goat cheese, and it's kind of salty. Oh, that's another one that to me, you could incorporate the elements that I just described of the savory scone into a quiche using scallions, leeks, goat cheese, onions. Maybe I'd put some turmeric in there. It sounds like something I need to try.
Yeah, and like quiches are like so similar to me to like a cuckoo. And so having like a cuckoo type of frittata at the table is always great too. And you can really incorporate a ton of different vegetables in your cuckoo. We've talked about like the flexibility of how you can have like roasted vegetables or fresh vegetables or herbs or greens and spinach and make it really customizing it to really what you want. So it's kind of nice to like, if you are going really heavy on like a batter brunch type of food, then you have like a supplement of some like vegetables and greens in a form of like a quiche or a cuckoo or something on the table. It sounds like a great idea.
Cuckoo's a great idea too. It's always a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, let's not forget, brunch also sort of feels like bubblies and toasting time to me.
Absolutely. I think that part of like the definition of brunch for me involving some sort of cocktail or mocktail or something fun to be drinking. So I think that's a great segue to our Ask the Beats of this week. Actually came from our website this time. And the question is, what goes into a goal getter? And for people who may not remember, we had a really fun Persian cocktail episode, right, for New Year's, for American New Year's Eve. We gave a selection of different drinks that you could make to bring in the new year. And one of them was called the Goal Getter that Bita came up with. And Bita, tell us about this drink and what goes into your Goal Getter.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So instead of a bottomless mimosa, we're having bottomless goal getters. And gol in Farsi means flower. So I took all of the elements that I could think of floral rose in Persian cuisine, and I put them in a drink. This drink, Goal Getter, and I also was playing off of like being a goal getter and setting your goals for the new year. But hey, it's a fun pink drink. It's got rosé, bubbly rosé, or any bubbly Prosecco that you'd like to use, a little dollop of rose jam, and a tiny splash of rose water for even more rose flavor. You stir that up, and then you garnish it with some culinary rose petals. So fresh and fun and feminine, if I may say. If you are doing Mother's Day, it would be lovely. And definitely tag us. If you make a goal getter, tag Modern Persian Food. We want to see your images and pictures. And I love hearing that people are actually asking for the recipes and making things that we talk about.
Yeah, great, delicious. I will look forward to having one this year, hopefully. And we definitely, as Beata said, love seeing your guys' pictures, and go ahead and keep sending us your questions and comments, and we can feature them on the show. And we hope that we have provided some inspiration to you to bring some Persian flavors to your brunch table, either for Mother's Day or for yourselves, and to start entertaining as the weather's getting warmer, and great opportunity to spend time together, especially on the weekends.
You want to subscribe. Don't miss an episode. Keep sending the Ask the Beats, but definitely subscribe to our podcast.
Absolutely. Go subscribe so you get a new episode every Wednesday, and be sure to tell your friends so you guys can all be learning about Persian food together.
Until next time, bye.
Until next time, bye-bye. You've been listening to the Modern Persian Food Podcast with Beata and Bita. Thanks for spending time with us. If you've enjoyed what you heard today, consider telling a friend or giving us a good rating. You can subscribe to our show for free on your favorite podcasting app, or find us online at modernpersianfood.com or on Instagram for the recipes and information we talked about today. We'd love to hear your thoughts, and see you next time.